This is the Sarasota Technology User Group for Wednesday, September 7th, 2022. I'm your host, Huey Poplock. Today's presentation will be Windows 10 and 11, key subjects everyone should know, presented by Drew King. But first, a few announcements about Stug, which is the Sarasota Technology User Group. At the end of the meeting, we'll have a drawing for a one-year membership renewal. That's a renewal, so you must be a Stug member, and you must be online in the meeting at the time of the drawing. And if you're not a member of Stug, we do have a one-year membership. It's $30 a year. If you go to thestug.org and sign into the membership page, or just log into the click on the membership page, it'll give you the information on how to join, and we hope you do. We have classes and forums. The classes are limited to current Stug members only, unless otherwise noted. The iPhone, iPad, and Apple sessions for September, hosted by Bill Crow, you see on your screen. He's doing a series of 5 meetings. He's already had one, but you're willing, you can join any of them or all of them. But you need to register one day before the classes, send Bill an email. And for those who are members, because this is open to members, members do get notices. And in those notices are links to Bill's email. I host the Windows SIG every second Sunday, and the Windows SIG now is a Stug as well as the Central Florida Computer Society meetings. The two groups have joined forces, and we're going to be doing that meeting every second Sunday. The next one is September 11th. You can sign up for the WinSig newsletter at huey.net, and you can send me an email at huey@huey.net, and I'll send you the link where you can register for the meeting. And once you're registered, that same link is good for each meeting. The Windows File Explorer is going to be presented by Jim Cerny on September 15th from 3 to 4 p.m. on Zoom. And you need to get a hold of Jim within 2 days before that to get a link for the class. The Stug Help Desk is every month. The next one is September 21st from 4 to 5:15 p.m. We do send out a reminder with the link. It's hosted by Jim Cerny. Again, contact him to get on the reminder list. Huey Poplock and Ron Brown, that's myself and Ron Brown, host Tech for Seniors every Monday, Tech for Senior Live every Thursday, and Learning Chromebooks the 4th Thursday of every month. You can get more information at www.techforsenior.com. Don't forget the Stug website, the Stug newsletter, the YouTube channel, and our Facebook page. Also, the group's IO, which is our email question and answer subscription. It's free for members. You do have to be a member, and there you can either subscribe or contact us to get information on how to subscribe, and you do so by just sending an email to that address. Also, don't forget the Stug Friday trending email. It's sent to all current members. Here's an important announcement. We have added a Stug calendar. If you see on the left where you click on the main page of our website, it'll take you to the calendar, and you'll be able to add the calendar to your Google Calendar if you maintain one, and we'll give you information soon on how to do that. This is your Stug board, and I'm going to turn it over now to Jim Cerny, and he will introduce our speaker for tonight.
Okay, thank you, Huey, very much for doing all those announcements. And Ross will probably not join us today, and we want to keep her in our thoughts and prayers with the tragedy she's going through with the illness of her husband. I also want to bring up a little item that is just getting rolling. Is we're going to have a big social event in December. We haven't been meeting together in person. We've tried to have some hybrid meetings, and people either have difficulty attending or They are still COVID respectful in their health issues or whatever. And so we thought that we would start just going with Zoom on our regular monthly meetings for a while. So to take up the social slack, we're going to have a Christmas party, social, in person, no Zoom, in December. And I'll be giving announcements of that. It'll be in the monitor and in the events notifications that we send out to everybody and all the members. Okay, you have to be a member to attend that. Okay, that's it for the announcements. I'd like to introduce Drew King. And there's a long list of his qualifications. There's no way, if I decided to go into his qualifications, the meeting would be over in an hour. But believe me, he is an excellent communicator. He has a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience with all things Windows and technology. He's worth listening to every minute. And I can see that he has already shared on the chat his email address and his phone number for us, which was very nice of him to do that. So go to the chat if you'd like his email address and phone number. So now I'd like to turn it over, and I'm very interested in Windows 10 to 11. And Mr. Drew King, could you help us, please? Take it over, Drew.
Sure. Thank you very much. We are going to talk tonight about Windows 10 and Windows 11, and a lot of the things that are sometimes skipped by people and go through the whole Windows life cycle and Windows 11 cycle without taking advantage of some of the features of Windows, and also not sometimes taking advantage of some of the safety things that we ought to do in the event we have a computer failure. So, and then lastly, we'll cover an introduction to Windows 11 so that you can get a quick look at the interface, see how File Explorer is different, see how the menus are different. And for those of you who have already upgraded to Windows 11, congratulations. I hope you're doing well on it. And if we have at the end time for people to ask questions about whether or not they should upgrade to Windows 11 or based on what kind of Windows 10 machine they have, we can answer those kind of questions too as well. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my presentation now. And can everybody see the front screen?
Yes.
All right, great. So the version of Windows 10 that we'll be talking about tonight is called 21H2. And what that means is that it was the 2021 version of Windows. So Windows 10, when it first came out, was very different from where Windows 10 is today. And year by year, Microsoft, aside from putting in patches and fixes and Windows Defender updates, they also make changes to Windows itself. And that is tracked by looking at the version number. And this stands for 2021, the second half of the year, the second release for the Windows 10. So if you have a problem with your computer and Windows Update's not working right, and you see that this says a 19 or a 20, then that means your Windows computer hasn't updated in a couple of years. So that's something that you want to look for. And you can, in your search bar, type in the command WinVer, W-I-N-V-E-R, and it will pop this box up on the screen, and you can look and see for yourself what version of Windows you have. During the pre-portion of the meeting, we were having a little bit of a discussion about the different versions of Windows, the developer version of Windows, the beta version, and the release preview channel. The release preview channel is the newest one related to the customer shipping version. And the Windows 11 that I have is actually running the Windows release preview channel. And it's going to have a few bells and whistles and changes that people that haven't come into Windows 11 yet, but they're not going to be really visible. And Windows 11 will be updated to what is in the release preview channel shortly, probably in the September, October, November, somewhere. Microsoft hasn't really announced when they're going to slip it in, that Windows 11 and Windows 10 updates in. If by some chance you purchase a refurb computer, you may get a nasty message on your computer screen from Windows saying that your version of Windows is no longer supported. And then you want to return the computer and scream and curse who you bought it from. Microsoft, this hyperlink, which you'll have in the presentation at the end, will take you to all of the extinct versions of Windows. And what will happen is if your version of Windows is too old, say you buy a refurb from Amazon, they may put a 2015 version of Windows 10 on there. Microsoft doesn't support it anymore. So that's why they're going to tell you it's end of life, when in reality, all you need to do is run Windows Update. So now what we're going to do is talk a little bit about Windows 10. And I'm going to start off with the taskbar. And you'll see over on the right-hand side, I have the weather, and I've got people, and my search box is not a search box anymore. It's actually a little magnifying glass, which takes up less space. So what I wanted to do was show you how to, for example, get rid of these two things off the screen and clean things up a little bit. If you put your mouse over the, let me close this out. It doesn't need to be here. If you right click on your taskbar, you'll see that in the top portion here, there are news and interests. And I have turned on for the meeting to show the icon and text for news and interests. If you're not interested in that, turn it off and it'll disappear. If you want to get rid of Cortana because you don't use it anymore, you can uncheck that. When you go into search, I was able to figured out how to change the search box into a search icon. So it takes up less space on the taskbar. Windows 11 has a search icon only. These are some of the things that you can do to the taskbar to clean it up a little bit. And let's go to my next page here. One of the things that you can do, like for example, I'm going to be doing this during the meeting, is taking advantage of minimizing and maximizing windows. If you all have the Windows logo key on your keyboards, if you press the Windows logo key and the letter D, it shows your desktop. So if you then press that again, it brings your documents back up. And I'm going to minimize that. And I'm going to show you in a few minutes how to see some of the other key menu items that you want to look at. If you click on the search icon, it'll bring up a listing of recent applications that you have used. If you click on documents, you can see here that it's blank. If I type in Stug, for example, it's going to go around my hard drive and my cloud drives and everything and find files. You can see that this stugdemo.txt file is located in Drew King OneDrive. And some of these other documents are going to be loaded on my local computer, and some of them are on my Google Drive. But I can search for Stug-related documents by simply opening up the search bar in this fashion. If you right-click on the search bar, you get a whole bunch of different options where you can again show the Windows and workspace, the Windows Ink workspace button if you have a tablet. Show the keyboard and touchpad buttons, again, mostly useful if you have a tablet. On the menu, a lot of people don't ever move the mouse further than this. So when you go up, you don't often recognize that you can go to your network, your video, your pictures, your music, and your downloads and your documents by just simply clicking on the menu button. If you right click on the menu button, it brings up other things that you don't need quite as often, such as disk management and network management, device manager. These are things that you use more for troubleshooting Windows than you do for daily use of Windows. That's searching and recent files and using the menu. A lot of people don't even use the menu very often. I find it to be very useful. If you press the menu key, you'll notice that I have mine populated with every single application that I use on a regular basis. I never have to scroll up and down through the menu, and I never really scroll up and down here either. The way to add applications to this menu is to find them on the left-hand side and just hover over it. And for example, if I hover over Thunderbird and I right click, I will have an option to unpin from start because it's already in my start button. It's already right over here. If I want to choose more, I can unpin it from the taskbar because I have it pinned to the taskbar as well. That's how you, in Windows 11, you'll notice that they took away initially the ability to drag items to the taskbar. In Windows 11, in the new version, you can take an item from here and just drag it to your taskbar to pin it on. So I encourage people to give this some experimentation. For example, you can also create groups. If you take one application icon and drag it on top of another, you can create a little group. So I created a group called Microsoft Office that has my PowerPoint, my Outlook, and my Word. And that way you can keep things, you can put all your games in one group. My remote desktop programs are in a group. My online meetings are in a group. Makes it easier to find what you're looking for rather than looking for desktop shortcuts. Are there any questions so far about the user interface? I don't see any hands up, so we'll continue. The task manager is a good place to get information about your computer. If you have a problem with your computer, you can look at the applications that are running, and if one of them happens to be fogging the central processing unit, like Zoom is using 30% of my processor right now. If it were up at 100 and it wasn't working right, I could highlight it and click on End Task in the lower right-hand corner, and it will terminate that application. Some people say, do I have enough computer resources to run Windows? This will tell you in your task manager how much of the CPU is it using and how fast is it running. And if it's constantly running at a high speed, something might be wrong. Mine is running at 3 gigahertz right now. Its normal base speed is 1.5. So it's working fairly hard. My memory is also 25 gigabytes of memory in use because I have all these programs loaded. That's one way that you can do some troubleshooting. Another thing that I've noticed that people don't always do is wanting to have, you have a laptop and you want to be able to run 2 applications side by side. And one of them may be Notepad and one of them may be another application, and you're trying to figure out how to get them on the screen right. You can drag Notepad over to the right and it will, should snap. Oh, wait a minute, I've got 2 monitors. I apologize. It didn't snap because I've got a second screen over there. If I do it this way, it will snap to the left-hand side And then I can pick and put my presentation on the right-hand side. That way, if you have a word processor and your internet browser and you're doing some research, it's a quick and easy way to get your screen split in half. And the way that is done one more time is to simply move the application anywhere on the screen and then click and hold the left mouse button in, and then just drag it to the side. And it will then ask you what application you would like to have on the right-hand side. And in Windows 11, Microsoft has gone one step further and allowed you to have up to 4 applications running at the same time. So if you have a big monitor, you can actually run multiple apps and have them snapped into certain sizes on Windows 11. In Windows 10, you get 2 sizes. You get the left and the right. Once you get them up and running on the screen, you can go in the middle and change. You should be able to change the way that they're linked, so that if you need to, it's not working on my machine right now, but normally this would be moving back and forth. We're going to minimize that and bring this guy back. This is I'm kind of new to running a dual monitor, so some of the things might not work right. Now, as far as voice typing is concerned, most people don't even know that Windows 10 and 11 have voice typing. Most often today, companies provide technical support through chat windows. And it can also be very difficult to type what your problem is and keep up with the person in the chat window. So if you hold down the Windows logo key and press the letter H, it will initialize voice typing. And you can type as fast as you can talk. And you can tell the person on the other side of the conversation exactly what the problem is with your computer. So that's a neat little trick that people can start taking advantage of. It works fairly well in Windows 10. It works a lot better in Windows 11. And then it works in any text box. So if you're in Microsoft Word or Notepad or in your browser, you can dictate messages to people. And that comes in handy a lot. You can use it for chat, like I said, for email, documents. The Windows logo key often gets ignored, and it has some useful functions to it. If you press the logo key and the letter E, it will open up a new instance of Windows Explorer for you. D will minimize everything and show you the empty desktop. L will lock your screen immediately if you are someone peering over your shoulder, or you're going out and you want to just lock the screen. You can hit logo and L and it will lock the screen for you. Logo and A will bring up what they call the Action Center. And I don't think I can bring it up right now because it is running my presentation. Oh, there it is. This is the Action Center. And you can turn network on and off, turn your nightlight on and off, do nearby sharing, project to other screens, connect to wireless displays, and just go into all of your settings if you want to get to all your settings. So that's an easy way, menu and the letter A, to bring up all these nice, neat connections. If you press the logo key and the letter Shift S, it will drop down a box on the top where you can do screen snips. And you can do a rectangle snip, a freeform snip, snip the current window or the whole desktop. And then you can paste that into applications or emails. A lot of the things that you're going to see in this presentation were screen grabs that I used to this very same program. Control Q, logo Control Q, is a program that most people have never heard of. It's called Quick Assist. If you're having a problem with Windows and you have a family member or a friend or a coworker that can answer your question but needs to see your screen, you can press the logo key and the control key and the letter Q, and it will bring up what they call Quick Assist. This is a form of screen sharing. And it always tells me that there's a new version, and it never has a new version. So I just say it's already installed. And then once it's running, you can either get assistance from another person or you can give assistance to a person. And if I'm going to assist somebody, it will generate a code that person that I'm giving help to will type into their box. And that establishes a secure encrypted connection between two Windows computers, so you can provide your friend with tech support. Over here, I have the complete collection of the Windows logo keys.
Drew, I have a question.
Sure.
If you move up, it says your logo plus U is voice typing. Isn't it H, or is it different in 10 than it is in 11?
Oh, you know what?
Is that a typo?
That's a typo.
Yeah, and you have it just above it too. You had U. Just so you're aware of it. And people,
yep.
people, yeah,
Right.
Keep going up to the section above it.
Yep. Windows voice typing. I made a boo-boo.
Okay, I just didn't want people to have the wrong one and try it.
Nope, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a typo. So these are the complete lists. This is a shortcut to the complete set of documentation for everything Microsoft. If, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, keyboard shortcuts, not everything. Now we're going to cover some stuff in Firefox, on File Explorer. And what I need to do right now is catch up on my slideshow here. Okay, under File Explorer, we'll minimize the presentation. We'll get rid of this, and we'll get rid of that. Now, in File Explorer, many people, I'm going to revert mine back to the way that Windows is from the way that you get it in the factory. And that's by having it show up with this PC. And the reason that I'm going to do that is you'll see in a second. When I launch Windows File Explorer, this is probably what most of you see. You see your folder, a couple of folders and your hard drives. And then you have to figure out where your documents are. Well, if you go into the View menu and you click on Options and change folder and search options, you can tell File Explorer that you would like it to not open to the PC, but to quick access instead. And if you open it to quick access instead, the next time I go into File Explorer, I have my frequently used folders and my frequently used files right in front of me. I don't have to go searching for my frequent files. And some of these will be on my PC, some of them might be on Google Drive, some of them might be on my OneDrive. If these just are whatever the frequent files is that I've used. In Windows 11, you have an additional feature in this view for pinning items and calling them shortcuts. And you can have, or favorites. So instead of having recent files and frequent folders, you have favorites. The quick access section of your File Explorer can have all of these options turned on. What I did is, you can see over here, there's like a little pin. And what I did is took the folders that I use most frequently and I pinned them to the quick access. So if I want to quickly get to my downloads, there they are. If I want to go to the document folder I have on my Google Drive, there it is. If I want to get to my Stug files, there they are. And you can put in as many of these as you want. And you'll see that I have a Stug over here and I have a Stug over here. Unfortunately, they don't let you change the name. This one happens to be on my OneDrive and the other one is on my Google Drive. That's why there are two of them here. And I also have folders that have files in them that you can run as executables. So you can put any kinds of files that you want to have over here. I even have an IP address of another device in my house on the list. So if I were to click on that, it would bring me to a central file server that I have in my house. Let's go to the next page. The next thing I wanted to cover was libraries. A lot of people don't really look at their libraries. I happen to have documents that are on two different cloud storage servers. I have documents that are stored on my drive from Google Drive, and I have documents that are on OneDrive. Instead of having your documents just be one or the other, typically by default, it's going to be your OneDrive files. You can have your MyDrive files and your OneDrive files in your documents library. And you can go in and choose which of these two that you would prefer to be the dominant one. For example, if I were to right click on documents and go into properties, you'll see that OneDrive or MyDrive is listed first and documents is listed second. And that's how they're listed here in File Explorer. And if I wanted to make my Microsoft documents folder the first folder, I can just highlight the mouse and drag it up. And the next time I open File Explorer, they'll be the other way around. Put it back the way it was. And this little icon here with the person and a checkbox is the default location, set save location, set public save location. I have chosen my drive as my default save location for files. So if I were to go into Notepad and decide that I wanted to save this file, it should automatically default to my Google Drive. If I were to change File Explorer properties in here and say that I want my OneDrive to be the permanent save location, I can do that. And then when I go into Notepad, if the demo goes well, it should.
Drew froze.
Choose to, excuse me?
He's not on mine.
You had frozen for a while.
Oh, did I?
I didn't have a problem, Bob. So
Maybe
continue.
it's my end. Go ahead.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Let me know if there's a problem. So this is how you can change where you save your files to. Unfortunately, not every program respects Microsoft's save as policy, but this is where you would go in and change them. I'm going to change mine back to where it was. And that is how you set your save file location in Windows. Then I will minimize Notepad again. And what we're going to do is you'll notice over in this column where it has a list of everything, I have 2 computers. This DKing 65.333 desktop computer is the machine that I'm using right now. And you'll see that the logo is actually what you can't see it clearly. It's a little music box. And I've got another one over here next to Patriot. And if I click on that, this happens to be all of the music that I have on my computer. And it will scan my computer and find where I have all my music files. And I can do the same thing. And then I can search by album, artist, all music, by albums or composer. Here's an unknown composer, essential CD from Barbra Streisand. The Patriot, my file server, can browse files, but it's also a multimedia server. So again, I can get to my music. And if you look in your network, in here, it will show you which devices on your Wi-Fi network are physical computers that you can browse, and which ones are media devices that you can listen to music. Windows devices I have turned on as being able to share their media between other devices inside my house. Microsoft happens to subscribe to a service, or not a service, but a feature protocol called the Digital Living Network Alliance, DLNA. And some people refer to it as plug and play. And that's how this is working. And if you buy another device that you put on your network, like a router or a dedicated music player that's designed to attach directly to your network, it'll show up in this list. And that's how you would get to it from Windows. You can also get to it if you have an Amazon Fire Stick. There are media players that I have listed at the bottom of my presentation that you can see how to play music on a Fire Stick if you want to. And then it comes out through your TV speakers or your stereo and things like that. The next thing that we're going to do is I'm going to show you an easier way to transfer files from one computer in your home to another. Microsoft networking can be very, very confusing on how to transfer files between different Windows desktops. Microsoft eventually built into Windows a new feature that's for file sharing. And what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to bring, for the purpose of doing the file sharing, I'm going to bring my Windows 11 desktop up, and I'm going to make it half size and bring File Explorer up in half size if I have it somewhere. Oops, I have closed it. All right, so here's File Explorer, and I can't snap it. I'm sorry, I have to. I didn't realize this was going to be a problem until the beginning of the presentation. If I snap, it's not showing me the File Explorer because it's underneath. Anyway, I will go into my downloads folder, and here I have a copy of the Windows presentation that I'm using right now. And I'm going to make, oops, a boo-boo. And accidentally terminate my connection. I apologize for this. Let me get past this little technical difficulty. Here is my Surface computer, and available monitor and access my computers. Oh, wait a minute. I apologize. This is my, there we go. This is actually full screen. That's why it was looking like it terminated. Only I'm having trouble getting it to not be full screen. Let's minimize that. And I apologize for this. We will figure this out momentarily. Well, I'm going to have to skip that portion of the demo because it's not working very well. My Windows, this is my Surface machine. And let's see if I can get my file manager up. Now, this computer right now is a little bit small, and I apologize for that. What I want you to do is focus on this area of the screen right here. And what I'm going to do is simply right-click on this presentation. This is a file that I would like to put on another computer in my home. And so what I'm going to do is click on a very infrequently used option or overseen option called Share. Another way of getting to this is by simply clicking on the menu, and you'll see a little Share arrow. If I click on this arrow, it's going to look for nearby computers using Bluetooth. And I'm going to click on my other computer, and you should see a box pop up on this computer in a moment, letting me know that it is sharing that file. Let's try that one more time. And we have another broken demo. Phone link is running and copy to clipboard. So we've got let me try a different file and share it over to here. This worked right before the meeting, and now it's not. If this were successful, this presentation would be up and opened on my other Windows 7 machine. It uses a combination of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi to transfer the files. So it's not just Bluetooth as a slow connection. It actually works with Wi-Fi as well. And it's a direct Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, PC to PC connection. Now, many people are familiar with the Windows Control Panel. The Windows Control Panel by Microsoft is trying to get rid of it. I will go back to the presentation real quickly and scroll down. I have some information in here about playing music for people that you can read later on your own time. Sharing files, the control panel versus settings. Microsoft is phasing out the control panel, and everything is going into this little icon here called settings. In Windows 11, more things are in settings than there are in Windows 10. And you just want to be aware that more things are going to be in here. The Microsoft Store has applications. If you want to run Facebook full screen, it's not really a dedicated Facebook application. It actually is Microsoft Edge. The history of Microsoft browsers is Internet Explorer, which came out first. Then Microsoft Edge came out. And now we have Edge 2.0, which is based on a form of Google Chrome. So if you have the Google Chrome browser or you have the Microsoft Edge browser, you have the same browser underneath the hood. And with some, obviously, some changes on the Microsoft side to the Google side. If you were to go into Microsoft Edge and paste this Edge extensions in here, you can actually go and pull in extensions from the App Store. from Google. You can load Google add-ins to Microsoft Edge. And they've also introduced profiles. So you can have two people sharing a computer with different profiles, different histories, different bookmarks. Now, here comes one of the fun parts of Windows. If you happen to have an Android phone, if you have an iPhone, then you have to skip this part because Microsoft and Apple are not business partners. There's an application on Windows 10 and Windows 11 called PhoneLink. And PhoneLink lets you do a bunch of different things. It can access your photos on your phone. So you take a picture with your phone and moments later, it's available for you to use on your computer. And if you want to copy a file off the computer, you can simply just drag it and put it on your desktop. If you notice right here, you'll see that this is a green screen with a sad face. Some of you may have heard of the blue screen of death in Windows 10 and earlier versions of Windows. Windows 11, you'll never ever get a blue screen of death because they now have what is called the green screen of death. And this is an error that happened on my Windows 11 beta machine that I get this from time to time. I have not had this in my production version of Windows, only so far in the beta. Aside from accessing the photos on your phone, you can, if you're going to write a new email message, I, for example, use Thunderbird. You can use a browser or Outlook and do the same thing. You can drag a picture into, in this case, Thunderbird, and you can decide whether you want it to be an inline file or add it as attachment. Firefox gives you the choice. Microsoft and Google will attach the file to the email. If you happen to be, and I didn't set up I was going to set up a demo with Bill in advance, but we never got to do it, to do text messages. If I were to receive a new text message from anybody, I can answer that text message on my computer. And anybody that's here, I can send I can just use my keyboard to send that person a message rather than using the keyboard on your cell phone. I don't have calling set up on mine because it gets annoying. You can set it up so that if you are not near your cell phone, you can answer phone calls with your PhoneLink app. Your computer will ring and you'll have a phone call. You can access on your Android phone the applications that you have on your Android phone. They're not really running on Windows. Let's say you have a solitaire game on your Android phone. You can play that solitaire game as soon as I unlock my phone. And now you have Android Solitaire running on your Windows machine. And in Windows 11, this very same solitaire game can run full screen. On Windows 10, it's really running on the phone. And so it can only run in this little box, which is unfortunate. But on Windows 11, you can play full screen games. I like to play backgammon. I can run it full screen on Windows. And so applications, calls, text messaging, all on your Android phone. And we will continue unless anybody has a question.
You're on the phone, the Android
Mm-hmm.
apps, they don't work on every phone. I have a Pixel 6 and I can't do applications. It has to be a Samsung, I believe, phone.
That's what I have is a Samsung phone.
Yeah. So the apps work for you. They don't work if you have a phone other than the Samsung. They're still working on it. Eventually it'll work for the rest of them, but right now it's just a Samsung feature.
Now, have you tried that out on Windows 11?
Yep. Right now it only works if you have a Samsung.
Oh, wow.
Everything else
Okay.
you can do. I can make phone calls. I can see my pictures. I can do the texting, but I can't do any of the apps from the phone. They don't show up.
Okay. Well, you'll just have to run them natively on Windows 11 instead. Now, if I want to transfer a file, let's say this PDF file, I want to take it with me on my phone. Another way, if I pair my phone with Windows as it is, I can right-click here and say send to, and send it to a Bluetooth device, and choose my cell phone as my Bluetooth device. And it will now ask me on my cell phone if it would like to receive this PowerPoint presentation. And I'll say that I'm going to accept it, and it will send the presentation over. And I'm not going to let the whole thing go through because it's a 20 megabyte file. So I'm going to cancel that. But if you do need to transfer documents to your Android phone, you can do it by simply right-clicking on the file in File Explorer. And let me catch up on my paperwork here. And now we're going to move on to OneDrive. OneDrive has an icon that lives in your taskbar. And I believe it is this guy right here. Now, if you go into settings and then settings again, and then settings a third time, you can decide an option called Files on Demand. I get this question asked of me from time to time. And they say, Drew, I don't want my OneDrive files on my computer. I want just my computer files on my computer. You can check off this box and save space and download files only as you use them, instead of having all of your OneDrive files on your computer. I'm going to do another reason that's a good idea to have OneDrive as your place that you store files is I'm going to go down to the Stug folder where I have a little demo file, and I'm going to right click on the file, and I'm going to say, I want to look at the version history. And you'll see that I have versions of this text file, some of which I edited 3 hours ago, that I can edit. And it will be a different version of the file that is the most current file. So if I want to, I can go backwards. If I go back too far, it will just do a simple restore rather than opening the file. So it will restore the file, and it shouldn't say number 4 anymore. It says number 3. So you can do this with Microsoft Word documents as well. If you have a Word document that you've been editing and you mess something up, or you need to change something that you've already hit save, if you've saved it to your OneDrive, about 20 seconds after you save the file, it's been version history up on the Microsoft server. One of the things that I learned how to do recently that I've done with another member of Stug is to share OneDrive files with another person over the internet. And I am in this browser window logged in as another person called Sarah Connor, which is a test account of mine. And there's a folder called Drew that was shared with Sarah. And if I click on these 3 little dots, I can add a shortcut to Drew to my files. And then when I look in my files, I will see the Drew folder. And that will replicate down to my PC. And now Drew and Sarah can share files with each other through the internet simply by dropping a file in that folder. Google Drive has a similar feature, only it doesn't work quite as well. It creates a shortcut that looks more like a file rather than a folder. So that's something that you can think about doing if you are interested in sharing files with other people. That's that page. Now, the next thing we're going to move on to are Microsoft user accounts. And the reason why I wanted to cover Microsoft accounts is because in Windows 11, they're required. In Windows 10, they are optional. And in Windows 11, they're not. You can have local accounts that are only exist on your PC, or you can have a Microsoft account that runs through the Microsoft server. If you want to use OneDrive as a file sharing source, you need to have a Microsoft account. Otherwise, you can use with a local account. But as I said, once you go to Windows 11, you'll be using a Microsoft account on your computer, unless, of course, you have the Pro version of Windows, and which time you can choose to use a local account if you want to. In Windows 10, there used to be a networking feature called Homegroup. If you've been looking for Homegroup, it's gone. Windows doesn't have it anymore. They have a networking feature. It goes back to the original old Windows networking feature where you have to create a user account on the computer. And I outlined this in the presentation so that everybody would have it to take home so that you don't have to write and take notes. If you go into File Explorer, into settings, in settings, and you go into accounts, and then family and other users, and then other users, you can add someone else to this PC. And I have added Jake and Sarah to this PC. And it's the same as going into settings and clicking on accounts. And so I wanted to not waste too much time doing the demo and but also give you an opportunity to take home some good notes. Once you have a local user account set up on each of your computers, you can go into Windows File Explorer. And if you click on this PC in File Explorer on the left-hand side, you have to navigate and try and find this PC. It will give you the option to map a network drive and disconnect network drives if you want to share files with another computer. You can pick the drive letter that you want to share, and you can browse for whatever computer you want to share files with. I want to share files with my Surface. I'll connect up to the downloads folder, and when I click finish, I will have a Q drive that is linked over to my other computer. This is a more advanced file sharing option that we can cover in more depth at a later time. I just wanted to show you that it is possible. I personally recommend the sharing option that I showed you a little while ago to move files from one computer to another. It's just a lot easier to set up. If you have a lot of files, large files, video files, then you'll want to learn how to set it up this way instead.
Drew, there's a question from Carl.
Sure, Carl.
Yeah, hi Drew. I have another Windows desktop machine. I'm using my laptop right now. How do I share or look at that machine from my laptop? It's on the same network.
Well, by default, Windows file sharing is disabled in Windows. And I'm willing to bet if you in File Explorer click on the network icon or word on the left-hand side of File Explorer,
Okay.
in the bar up here, it might come up with a yellow bar saying that network sharing is disabled. Would you like to turn it on?
Oh.
And
Okay.
what you'll want to do is enable file sharing on each of your computers so that they'll be allowed to talk to one another.
Okay, I'll check that out. Second question is, I have an older Windows 7 machine and I could not network it in the past. I think it had to have at least Windows 8 or higher to do that. Am I able with Windows 10 or 11, because I have 11 on the laptop and 10 on the desktop, am I able to network that machine?
The Windows 7, Windows 10, and Windows 11 are all capable of sharing files with each other over the network. If you turn file sharing on and you have a local user account set up on each of the 3 computers.
Okay, good information. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go to there, and we've mapped the drive. And in File Explorer, how do I know if a file is shared? How do I know if somebody, what's going on? If I click on my downloads folder in the lower left-hand side, in the taskbar almost, it says the state is shared. And it's shared with everyone, and specifically Sarah and Drew. And those are the only 2 user accounts on this computer. And that way you can learn, you can click on it on a file or a folder, and it will tell you whether or not that item is shared or not. If it's not shared, then you're not going to see it on one of your other computers. And the way that you would you would take a folder and right click and go into, if I can find it, give access to other users someplace. Give access to specific people. This is what you'll have to do in your house, is turn on network access, like I said, in the network logo, and then grant permission of who you want to share files with. And I have a local user called Sarah who I gave read-write permission to. And you do that on each of your 2 or 3 computers and use those credentials when you want to share files. And actually, what you'll need to do is check off that you want to use different credentials, so that it pops up a login box so that you can put whatever the user ID and password is that you created on that other machine. Okay, Microsoft account security. One of the reasons, Microsoft has different ways of checking who you are and ways to prove who you are. You have applications that you may have granted access into your account. If you log into account.microsoft.com with your Microsoft account, you can go into the application section and find out, or privacy and services section, I'm sorry, and find out what applications have access to your account, and you can get rid of them. If you did some demo software or a software program that you're not using anymore, and you had granted access to your Microsoft account, you can go in here and take that permission away. I also will cover very briefly what a Bitlocker code is, if you don't know what it is. A lot of computers today, when they ship from the manufacturer, ship with what is considered a modern device and meets the requirements to enable device encryption. And this is not the same BitLocker that is available in Windows Pro. This is strictly a, encrypting your hard drive from the hardware level or software. It is software, but it's encrypting the drive, not individual files and folders like you can do with the paid version of BitLocker. And that code, when you boot up your computer and you add a Microsoft account, it will add this computer to your Microsoft account, and it will store that BitLocker code, not just on your computer, but in your Microsoft account as well. And what we can do is now, if you don't know what your BitLocker code means to you, if you have a reason to boot into safe mode, for example, you will need to punch in your BitLocker recovery code into Windows before you can go into safe mode. If your PC crashes and it wants to do a self-repair, before it can do the self-repair, you'll need to put your BitLocker code in so that it can unencrypt your hard drive. If you go into account.microsoft.com/devices/recovery key, it will bring up a box that will show you your recovery keys. If you go into settings on Windows in privacy and security and device encryption, you'll find out whether or not your particular laptop or desktop has device encryption enabled. If you go to find your BitLocker recovery key and you click on this little arrow, on Windows 10, it will open the control panel and it will bring you to Microsoft in Windows 11. Although in Windows 11, you can still go to the control panel and get to your recovery key. So if I were to open the control panel, actually, I think if I can, no, I can't do that. I need to type in BitLocker. And then it brings me to my device encryption settings, and related settings are BitLocker, and it brings me into the control panel. This is very, very important. This is where I can't click on this right now because it'll open up on my computer in the Zoom meeting. This will open a window where you can save it as a file, a text file, and it'll have your BitLocker recovery key in there. And you want to print that out, take a picture of it, store it someplace, put it in your password manager. If you ever need to recover Windows from a crash, or you need to get into safe mode, you need this recovery key. And you don't want to wait until your computer crashes to get this recovery key. If your computer is in a Microsoft account, Microsoft stores that recovery key in your Microsoft account. So you can actually log in to account.microsoft.com on any other computer and get your recovery key. This is what BitLocker recovery keys look like. It'll have your device name, which is your computer name, a key ID, and your recovery key. If Windows is not booting correctly, or it's in safe mode or any other reason, it will show you what the key ID is for that machine. And then if you have this, I have two computers in this picture. The recovery key that I need to use for that particular computer will match the key ID on the screen of that particular computer. This is information that I recommend that people keep in password managers. I happen to use KeePass for myself. It's an open source free password manager. Bitwarden is another open source free password manager. And LastPass is another good one. There are plenty of them out there. I would just recommend that you look into getting one of them. And rather than storing all of your passwords on scraps of paper and in Notepad. And then we have plenty of time. So I'm going to go in to account.microsoft.com. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in using what's called two-factor authentication. And what two-factor authentication is it means that I need to supply my user ID, my password, and then some other form of identification. And in this particular case, that other form of identification is going to be a Microsoft application called the Microsoft Authenticator. So I'm going to type in my email address, and then I'm going to type in my password. And here, and then it's going to pop up a box saying that I need to approve that sign-in request. And I have a message on my cell phone in Microsoft, and I need to get into the Microsoft app and approve that request. And it actually on my phone requires that I use my thumbprint as well. So even if somebody had my user ID and password, they still can't get into my account without my cell phone, essentially. I have two laptops in this machine, in this account. And one of the areas that I want to show you is your info. The info that's in here is fake, but on your personal Microsoft account, you'll want to put in information that you will write down and put into your password manager or your notebook. If you ever lose your Microsoft password and you need to confirm who you are to Microsoft, they're going to ask you for this information. And you need to know what it is in order to get your password back. If you don't know what you put in for your date of birth, your country, your phone number, your email address, you're going to not be able to get your password back. I've had people call me and say, Drew, you know, my husband passed away and I don't know how to get into his computer. There's a website you can go to, but you have to know this information. So share the information with people that need to know this information. In your privacy section, you can disable, if you want, advertising. There is down at the bottom here, personalized ad settings. And you can go in here and turn off ad tracking for your Microsoft account. That's the one thing I wanted to show you in privacy. Under the security tab, you'll want to, this is where you can go to look at your activity, and your advanced security options is what I want you to focus on tonight. And ways to prove who I am, or ways to prove who Sarah is. Number one is a password. That's the first option for everybody. If I choose, I can have Microsoft, if I lose my password, email a code, a one-time login code to one of my alternate email addresses, and I can use that code to get back into my Microsoft account and change my password. Another option that I have set up in here, which I just told you about, is the Authentication app that will pop up a notification on my phone and let me into my Microsoft account. I recommend that everybody have at least two forms of backup in order to get back into their Microsoft account. And this is where you turn two-step verification on and off. You can also create a passwordless account, which I haven't tested yet. I don't want to yet. Services and subscriptions, rewards, payments, and billings don't really apply to this meeting. Devices is a list of your hardware that you have in your Microsoft account. And this is where I said before, if you go to account.microsoft.com/devices and you log in, you can see the details of the computer. And here is where Microsoft stores the Bitlocker data. And if I were to click on Manage Recovery Keys, it would show me what the recovery key is for this particular laptop. And that's how you would recover it if you didn't have it written down. And does anybody have any Microsoft account questions? Because we're gonna went through that pretty quick.
There is one question from Carl Liss. I'm not sure what it's about.
Can you show, you talked earlier about going into your Microsoft account to check if apps had authorization to your account and deleting an authorization. Can you show where that is?
Sure. Apps and services. Manage the apps and services that are allowed to access your data. So what you want to do is go into here and click on privacy. And at the very bottom of the screen is apps and services. And it will tell you what applications you have granted access to your Microsoft account. So these are all applications that I have running that have the ability to access my Microsoft account. And if you want to, you can revoke access from those if you no longer use those apps. And let's go back here and catch up because we are, all right. So on this, I want to go back to the security page for 1 second. And in your advanced security settings, and this is another thing that I want to impress upon everybody to write down. In your security, advanced security sections is a recovery code. And if you click on this link, generate a new code, this is a one and only code that you can use to access your Microsoft account. If you, for any reason, can't get in, if you need to contact Microsoft and they say, well, what's your recovery code? This is where that's generated. And you want to put this in your password manager. And I have all of this in the notes. So the two-step authentication, the application passwords, the recovery codes, all of that is in the notes. And again, do you have your account recovery code handy? It's 25 characters long and looks like this. Inside your devices, again, this is where the details of your devices are and where you can recover your BitLocker code. Always have a Microsoft account linked to your PC, even if you don't use it every day. It's good to be able to get back into your computer. Advanced security options in your Microsoft. Again, this is the recovery code once again. Keep this code and your BitLocker code handy. If you lose your password and all else fails, you go to account.live.com/ACSR. You type in an alternate email address and where they should contact you. And they're going to ask you for the very information that I told you about in your account. Your name, your birth date, your country, your state, and your zip code. If you don't have these that match exactly to the letter in your Microsoft account, they're not going to let you back in again. And then break free from passwords, we can skip over. This is a screenshot of the Microsoft Authenticator app. And the reason why I couldn't take a picture of it on the computer because it hides itself. It doesn't let you see it on the computer screen. On my phone, I use a fingerprint to authenticate myself. as opposed to a camera. And so every time I want to run the Authenticator app, I use my thumbprint. And this is what it would look like for Sarah. I would click on Sarah and it would give me a code that I can use to access my account. In Google, oops, my cell phone. In Google, they do a similar type of thing. If you go into the security section of your account, you can put in a recovery phone number and a recovery email address. And that can be another Gmail account. This is, again, just how to verify that it's you. You don't have to put your phone number in to Google if you don't want to. You can put in another email address, and that other email address can be another Google address. I strongly recommend that people create a recovery drive. I'm willing to bet that almost none of you even know what one is, never mind, have one. A recovery drive is a bootable USB flash drive that has to be at least 32 gigs in size. And when you generate it, it takes about a half hour, 45 minutes. It will build a bootable Windows hard drive with all of your system settings on it, your drivers, your configuration, everything about you. And it will not be the original version of Windows or from the downloadable ISO file. It's a custom for your PC that you can't share with anyone else. So if you have two computers, you need two flash drives. And be sure to check off the box to back up the system files. When you get into the recovery drive software, you want to make sure that backup system files to the recovery drive is checked off so that it actually does build the drive properly. Let's take a quick sip of water.
Drew, if you make one of those recovery disks and then you make changes to your system, when you go to if you have to go to recovery, it's only going to go to that point. Is that correct?
It's going to recover your Windows to the state that it was in. You have to remember it's a clean install of Windows, so you're not going to have your applications or your data. This is a format of Windows. If you have a hard drive crash and you have no hard drive anymore, you put a new hard drive in your computer. Computer manufacturers no longer ship Windows disks with their computers. So if you have a hard drive crash and you don't have a Windows disk and you don't have a recovery drive, you have no way of reinstalling Windows on your PC back to the way that it was when it crashed. You can go to Microsoft and download the ISO file. It just may not have all the drivers that belong to your computer. And is there a question?
There was another question, but he removed his hand, so you might have answered it.
Okay. And another good thing to get in the habit of is to create what they call restore points. Before you install Windows software that are going to impact your system, if you type in the word restore, search for the word restore in the search box, you'll be able to pull up the system properties for system protection and enable it if it's not, and create a new restore point. And what this does is, let's say you install a piece of software that installs a driver that breaks your computer and your system isn't booting correctly. When you need to boot off of that USB drive to fix your machine, you need to have had created one of these restore points prior to putting that bad driver on your computer. If you store your data in the cloud, like on OneDrive, refreshing Windows without losing your data, it's an advanced recovery option. It's in the reset your PC, reset this PC area of settings. So if you were to type reset this PC in the search box, it'll bring up the advanced startup options, and you can boot off of a flash drive, which is, you can use that recovery drive to do system troubleshooting if your drive doesn't boot properly. That's another thing that you can use it for. And that is where we're concluding Windows 10. In case anybody has any Windows 10 questions, ask them now.
And I'm afraid, Drew, we about run out of time, so I don't think you're going to get started with the Windows 11, because we need to do a couple of housekeeping things, and that will wrap up our meeting. So.
Okay. Do I have 5 minutes? Or
Jim, what do you think?
Yeah, 5 minutes, and maybe we could reschedule your Windows 11 for another time to finish up. That would be great. Go ahead.
oh, wonderful. Okay. I will just quickly maximize the screen, and this is Windows 11, and this is the Windows 11 menu. No longer starts at the left-hand side of the screen. It starts in the middle of the screen and gradually moves its way out, and it no longer looks like it did before. You can click on the menu, and then the way that you get to your programs is by scrolling up and down with the mouse. And the way that you get to all applications is actually to click on this button over here. So Microsoft has made it a two-step process to get to your applications that are in this menu. And if you need to go down to the bottom, you can click on any letter and it will bring up the alphabet, and you can click on W and it'll bring you immediately to your W apps. If you want to take Windows Security, for example, you can right click on it and say that you want to pin it to the start menu. And then it'll appear on that start menu that I just showed you. And in File Explorer, this is what the new File Explorer looks like. And it has quick access area up here. You can set up personal file favorites, and you have your recent files and folders right here. And a lot of this is the same. And that's a brief, quick look at the menu and File Explorer. Windows 11 right now is at 21H2, and there will be an update to Windows coming out shortly. There will be a publicly available update probably in October or November. And that's it.
So you're saying if we do nothing, we will eventually will get a notice to go to Windows 11 if our computer can handle Windows 11.
If you have Windows 10 now, you would have already received an update as to whether or not you qualify for Windows 11. Inside the program here, when you get the handout, if you go to Microsoft.com health check, it will download an application to your computer and let you know whether your Windows 10 computer qualifies for Windows 11.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And Drew, the slides, it's a PDF file, I believe.
Yes, I will be saving it out as a PDF with clickable links in it.
Okay, if you'll send that to Marshall Dubois or webmaster at thestug.org, he will post it along with a link to this video once the video is put on YouTube as well. And so they can look at it at any time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Huey, do we have any announcements from your side before I wind up with the drawing?
No, just a reminder that the Windows SIG will be this Sunday. And do check the calendar for the other items that are going on this month. And one of the things that Drew covered, that Jim is going to also cover on File Explorer, and it will be a different approach to it. And I think that will be very good for you. File Explorer, of course, is the program that manages all of your files in Windows. And so whether you're on Windows 10 or Windows 11, I think you'll find that session really good. And of course, the other classes and things that we have going on, including the help desk, which is the, I can't remember the date. I had it in my notes at the beginning.
It's 2 weeks from today. So
Okay.
the help desk will be on, let me look it up, September 21st. Okay. Anything else from anybody before we go to the important drawing of getting 1 year free membership with Stug? We have
Mhm.
We have 44 people still online, and I have a list of names. I'm going to start with the top name that came out of the bingo box, so to speak. And the first winner we have, and if they're here, they get the prize. Mr. Dennis K, K-A-Y. Dennis, are you online? Can you unmute yourself and acknowledge that you're here?
Yes, I am. And this is kind of funny. This is the third time I've won in 4 months.
Okay,
So
I disqualify you.
yeah, so I'm going to turn down, but I do have a question. Nobody has contacted me for the winning I did in June.
Okay, it was in June?
I believe it was June.
Okay, I'll follow up with that, Dennis.
Okay, so give it to
Makes
somebody
sense.
else.
Okay, I'll go on. Thank you very
Sure.
much for that, Dennis. The next name I have that if they're on is Sharon Messmer, M-E-S-S-M-E-R. Sharon, are you on?
I'm checking the list to see. And she is not.
Okay, we go to the third name, and that is Philip Andrews. Philip Andrews, are you on, please?
Yes, I'm on.
Okay, Philip, have you won in the last 12 or 11 months for this 1 year extension?
Have not, no.
Okay, you're the guy. We got you. All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Philip, I'm going to turn your name over to our membership committee person, a committee of one, and we'll make sure that you get a 12-month extension to your existing membership. So whenever it's up, you get 12 more months of membership for Stug. Congratulations and thank you for hanging with us.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, we're going to exit. I'll leave it up to Huey, if you go ahead as the master of ceremonies to exit us all out. Thank you, Drew, very, very much for your presentation. I won't be able to top that in my class in a couple of weeks, but it sure helps. Thank you. Okay, good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.